The massive NIGMA warship appeared suddenly in Earth's orbit one quiet Tuesday morning. It hung there, a dark shadow against the blue sky, visible even in daylight to everyone looking up. Panic swept across cities worldwide as the enormous vessel, easily 20 times larger than anything humans had ever built, positioned itself directly over the United Nations headquarters in New York. Commander Kim stood in the control room of Earth's Defense Coalition, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. The room had fallen silent as the main screen flickered to life, revealing the first clear image of a NIGMA representative. The alien was tall, with a gleaming exoskeleton that reflected the lights of their ship, compound eyes that seemed to take in everything at once, and mandibles that clicked rhythmically as it spoke. "People of Earth." The translation came through. Clearly, the alien's voice processed into something understandable. "I am High Commander Executor of the NIGMA Empire. Your planet has been scheduled for integration. You have one standard galactic month to surrender your governments, resources, and military capabilities to our authority. Resistance is inadvisable." Officer Park, a stocky man with a perpetual frown, hurried into the room with a stack of paper reports. "Commander, our satellites have picked up at least 15 more ships holding position behind the moon. And intelligence. Just compiled this." He slid several photos across the table. 17 other civilizations, all conquered using these exact same tactics. Kim's jaw tightened as she studied the images of devastated planets. What happened to the ones that didn't surrender? Park's eyes darkened. There's no record of any that refused, but the ones that did surrender, they're basically slave worlds now. Mining operations, agricultural processing, military conscription. The room fell silent again. Everyone knew Earth's visible defenses were no match for what they were seeing, but what the NIGMA couldn't know, was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Ever since picking up the first alien transmissions 30 years ago, Earth had unified in secret, pooling resources and brilliant minds to develop technology that remained hidden underground, underwater, and in stealth orbital platforms. The public thought space exploration had stalled. In reality, it had gone deep black. "Prepare our hidden defenses," Kim ordered, her voice calm despite the weight of 6 billion lives on her shoulders. "And get me a direct line to the NIGMA ship. I want to see these creatures face to face." 3 hours later, Kim sat across from the NIGMA ambassador in the hastily prepared diplomatic chamber. The alien was even more imposing in person, nearly 8 feet tall with an armor-like exterior that seemed to shift colors slightly as it moved. 2 silent guards flanked it, both carrying weapons that hummed with energy. "Your species has achieved some modest technological advancements," the ambassador said, its translator rendering the clicks and hisses into smooth English. "This is why you have been offered integration rather than immediate harvesting. Many planets would consider this an honor." Kim kept her expression neutral. "And if we decline this honor?" The ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly in what might have been amusement. "Your primitive species cannot hope to resist. We have conquered galaxies while your kind was still discovering fire. Those who resist are eliminated. Those who cooperate become useful. The choice is simple." Kim leaned forward slightly. "You should know that humans have a long history of fighting against overwhelming odds. We're stubborn that way." "Stubbornness is inefficient," the ambassador replied. "One standard month. Prepare your planet for transition or prepare for consequences." It stood, towering over everyone in the room. As the alien delegation departed, General Ryu approached Kim. "What's our next move?" Kim watched the shuttle ascend toward the waiting warship. "We've been monitoring their communications. Their fleet is already heading to 3 other systems after us. They're so confident they don't even consider us a real threat." She turned to face the room full of military leaders and scientists. "That's their first mistake." She walked to the center display and activated it, showing a hidden orbital platform designed to look like space debris. "Dr. Lee has completed the final tests on the pulse weapons. We have shield technology they've never encountered, and Project Blackout is operational. They've given us a month," Kim continued, her voice rising with conviction. We'll use 2 weeks to evacuate critical civilians to the moon bases, and then we're going to give them a demonstration they won't forget. That evening, Kim addressed the United Earth government in an emergency session. Her words were broadcast to every corner of the planet, to people huddled around screens, looking to the sky with fear. Today we have been threatened by an empire that believes we will surrender without a fight. They have conquered 17 other civilizations using these tactics. They expect us to bow down out of fear. She paused, looking directly into the camera. But they have never met humans before. The room erupted in determined applause. We will not bow. We will not break. And they will learn what happens when you threaten humanity. We've prepared for this moment. Now we stand together, not as nations, but as Earth. And I promise you this. The NIGMA Empire will remember the day they decided to mess with humans. As the broadcast ended, millions of people worldwide began preparing, not in panic, but with the grim determination that had seen humanity through countless disasters and wars. The NIGMA thought they were facing a fragmented, primitive species. What they would find instead was a unified planet ready to fight for its freedom, with technologies and weapons the aliens never saw coming. 2 weeks after the NIGMA arrival, Earth made its move. A small diplomatic vessel requested permission to approach the alien mothership. Inside, Commander Kim and Dr. Lee sat silently as their craft was swallowed by the massive hangar bay. The NIGMA ship's interior was all sharp angles and metallic, surfaces that seemed to pulse with an inner light. They're so confident they didn't even scan us thoroughly, Dr. Lee whispered, glancing at the hidden device in his briefcase. Not a weapon. Something far more important. 4 armed NIGMA guards escorted them through winding corridors to a large chamber where 5 high-ranking officials waited. Their exoskeletons featured elaborate markings, indicating their elite status within the Empire. You have 13 more days before surrender is required, the lead NIGMA stated flatly. Why do you waste our time? Commander Kim stepped forward. We want to show you something. A demonstration, if you will. We believe there's been a misunderstanding about Earth's capabilities. The aliens' mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was their version of laughter. There is no misunderstanding. Our scans show your weapons are primitive. Your space vessels are laughable. Your defenses are inadequate. Then you won't mind observing a small demonstration, Kim replied calmly. We've set up an event in the asteroid belt. All we ask is that you watch. The NIGMA officials conferred briefly before agreeing. They seemed amused by the human audacity, almost curious to see what this doomed species might consider impressive. Hours later, the diplomatic vessel and a NIGMA observation ship positioned themselves near a large asteroid roughly the size of Earth's moon. It floated peacefully among thousands of others in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. This asteroid contains primarily nickel iron with traces of rare minerals, Dr. Lee explained, pointing to the data on a shared screen. About 2 billion tons in total mass. Observe. He opened his briefcase and pressed a sequence of buttons on a small device. For a moment, nothing happened. The NIGMA representatives clicked their mandibles impatiently. Then, silently, a network of previously invisible satellites around the asteroid began to glow with blue light. The energy built rapidly, connecting in a web-like pattern around the massive rock. Impossible, one of the NIGMA officials muttered, staring at their scanner. Those satellites were not there before. Stealth technology, Commander Kim explained. Just one of many things you missed in your scans of our system. The energy web around the asteroid pulsed once, twice. Then a blinding flash filled the viewports. When the light faded, where the massive asteroid had been, there was nothing but scattered dust. Complete silence filled the observation deck. That was a targeted dimensional displacement field, Dr. Lee said, his voice steady. We could have aimed it at your mothership just as easily. In fact, we have similar devices positioned throughout our solar system. The lead NIGMA officer's compound eyes narrowed. This technology is not possible for your evolutionary stage. You are lying. Commander Kim smiled thinly. Are you willing to take that chance? We've had decades to prepare since we first detected signals from beyond our system. You thought we were ignorant of the wider galaxy. You were wrong. She stepped closer to the alien officials. Here is Earth's message. Withdraw all your forces from our solar system immediately. We have no interest in your empire, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. The NIGMA leaders conferred in their clicking language, clearly disturbed by what they'd witnessed. Finally, the lead official turned back to Kim. You are only one small planet. The NIGMA Empire spans thousands of star systems. This demonstration, while impressive, changes nothing. You cannot hope to stand against our full might. We hoped you'd be reasonable, Kim sighed, but I suspected you might need more convincing. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the NIGMA ship. An officer rushed in, mandibles clicking frantically. The Mars colony, the translation, came through. Humans have established a large settlement on Mars. The lead NIGMA straightened, almost seeming to smile with its mandibles. Perfect. We will show these humans what happens when they defy us. Without warning, 3 NIGMA warships broke formation and accelerated toward the red planet. On viewing screens throughout both vessels, everyone watched as the alien ships opened fire on the Mars settlement. Buildings crumbled under the barrage, dust clouds billowing across the Martian surface. The NIGMA officials turned to observe the humans' reactions, expecting horror or despair. Instead, they found Commander Kim and Dr. Lee looking almost expectant. You should have scanned more carefully, Kim said quietly. On the screen, the dust began to clear. Where there should have been ruins, the buildings stood completely untouched, protected by shimmering blue energy fields. The entire colony had been a decoy, equipped with shield technology the NIGMA had never encountered. Before the aliens could process this revelation, Earth's hidden defense platforms activated. Precise energy beams lanced out from camouflaged positions on Mars's moons, cutting through the NIGMA warships with surgical precision. The vessels shuddered, their engines failing as their weapon systems went dark. Not one exploded. Each was disabled without destroying it. We targeted your weapons and propulsion systems only, Dr. Lee explained. No casualties. Your crews can be rescued. The lead NIGMA official's exoskeleton seemed to pale slightly. This is unexpected. Let me be absolutely clear, Commander Kim said, her voice iron. That was one defense platform around one planet targeting 3 ships. We have similar platforms throughout our system. We could have destroyed your entire fleet, but we chose not to. We don't want war. We want you to leave. She gestured to the disabled ships on the screen. Even now, we're sending rescue vessels to help your stranded crews. This is humanity's approach. We'll defend ourselves with overwhelming force if necessary, but we prefer peace. The lead NIGMA was silent for a long moment, compound eyes shifting between the human representatives and the screens showing their crippled warships. The NIGMA Empire does not retreat, it finally said, but there was a note of uncertainty in its voice that hadn't been there before. Commander Kim simply nodded. Then we'll be ready. You have 24 hours to recall your forces, or we'll consider your continued presence an act of war. She turned to leave, then paused. And just so we're clear, what you've seen today is only a fraction of what humanity can do when threatened. As the human delegation departed, the NIGMA officials conferred urgently among themselves. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they faced a species that had not only refused to surrender, but had the technology to back up their defiance. The warning had been delivered. The next move belonged to the NIGMA Empire. Tiwei. NIGMA deadline came and went. Earth had made its position clear and humanity braced for the response. It came at dawn 3 days later. The sky above every major city on Earth suddenly filled with NIGMA warships. Not dozens. Hundreds. They've committed their entire 7th Fleet, Officer Park reported, his voice tight as he studied the tactical display. Over 300 warships, including 5 dreadnoughts. They've never deployed this much firepower against a single planet. The EDC command center hummed with tense activity. Screens showed the massive alien vessels taking position. In low orbit, their hulls gleaming ominously in the morning sunlight. Commander Kim stood at the center of it all, outwardly calm despite the weight of responsibility. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," a communications officer called out. "It's being transmitted worldwide." The main screen flickered to life, showing the NIGMA Supreme Commander. Unlike the ambassadors they'd seen before, this one's exoskeleton was scarred and battle-worn, decorated with what looked disturbingly like trophies from conquered worlds. "People of Earth," the alien's translated voice boomed. "Your defiance is noted. Your tricks and deceptions have delayed the inevitable. Now witness the true might of the NIGMA Empire." The transmission cut off. Moments later, the warships opened fire. Energy beams lanced down toward major military installations worldwide. The room held its collective breath. Nothing happened. On the screens, the destructive energy seemed to vanish several miles above Earth's surface, absorbed by an invisible barrier. "Shields holding at 97%, Dr. Lee reported from his station, unable to hide a slight smile. "The interdimensional disruption network is functioning perfectly." For decades, in absolute secrecy, Earth had been building its true defenses, not conventional weapons, but a network of satellites capable of bending space-time itself. The system created a bubble around Earth that dispersed energy weapons and, more importantly, prevented the NIGMA's faster-than-light drives from functioning within the solar system. "They're trapped in normal space now," Dr. Lee explained to the assembled military leaders. "Their FTL capabilities are neutralized within our entire system." The NIGMA ships, realizing their primary weapons were ineffective, began to move into attack formations. They clearly intended to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. "Activate Phase 2, Commander Kim ordered. Across Earth's oceans, hidden platforms rose from the depths. From concealed mountain bases, massive cannons emerged. From beneath desert sands, energy arrays unfolded toward the sky. Earth's true military might, developed in secret over decades, was finally revealed. The counterattack was precise and devastating. Rather than targeting the ships themselves, Earth's weapons focused on propulsion systems and weapons arrays. Within minutes, dozens of NIGMA vessels hung dead in space, crews alive but ships useless. "They're retreating to regroup," Officer Park announced as the remaining alien ships pulled back to higher orbit. Commander Kim nodded. "They'll try again with different tactics. They can't comprehend losing to a lesser species." In the science section of the command center, Dr. Lee huddled with his team, poring over data streaming in from the disabled NIGMA ships. "Commander, I need to show you something," he called out, waving Kim over to his workstation. "We've been analyzing their communications. Look at this pattern." On his screen, a complex web of signals pulsed between NIGMA vessels. "It's not just communication," Dr. Lee explained, excitement making his words tumble out faster. "It's a neural network. Their entire military operates on a centralized command system. Every officer is connected to it. It's how they coordinate so effectively." "And if we disrupt it?" Kim asked, immediately grasping the significance. "Their entire military structure could collapse." Dr. Lee's eyes gleamed. "But we'd need to get to their central command to affect the whole network. These ships are just nodes in a much larger system." Commander Kim straightened. Decision made. "Prepare a stealth vessel. Small team, volunteers only. We're going to infiltrate NIGMA territory." While the main NIGMA fleet regrouped, a secondary wave attacked Earth's lunar colonies. They clearly expected minimal resistance at these outposts, but once again found themselves facing technology far beyond what humans should possess. The moon bases deployed gravity weapons that crushed NIGMA ships without damaging the crews inside, a humane approach that clearly confused the invaders. "We're intercepting their communications," Officer Park reported. "They're frightened. Their commanders can't explain how we have these capabilities." On the main viewing screen, the NIGMA Supreme Commander appeared again, mandibles clicking rapidly in what humans now recognized as agitation. "Your resistance is unprecedented," the alien admitted. "No species at your development stage has ever possessed such weapons. Reveal your true nature. Who are you allied with? Which advanced civilization has armed you?" Commander Kim stepped forward to respond. We are exactly who we appear to be. Humans. We've simply been preparing longer than you realized. The moment we detected signals from beyond our system decades ago, we unified and began developing defenses. You thought we were ignorant of the wider galaxy. That was your mistake. The NIGMA commander's compound eyes narrowed. Impossible. These technologies, dimensional disruption, gravity manipulation, these are beyond even some elder races. Yet here we are, Kim replied simply. We're not interested in conquest or joining your empire. We only want to be left alone. Withdraw your forces and this conflict ends today. The transmission cut off abruptly. The NIGMA were clearly reassessing their approach, as Earth's forces continued to disable rather than destroy the invading fleet. Dr. Lee's team worked feverishly to complete their analysis of the NIGMA neural network. It's beautiful in a way, Dr. Lee murmured, studying the complex patterns. Their entire military thinks as one organism, but that's also their vulnerability. In a secure hangar deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, a small stealth vessel was being prepared. Unlike anything humans had publicly revealed, this ship incorporated technology reverse-engineered from subtle studies of passing alien vessels over decades. It could match the NIGMA's faster-than-light capabilities and, more importantly, was invisible to their detection systems. Commander Kim stood before the 12 volunteers selected for the mission, the most skilled pilots, engineers, and soldiers Earth had to offer. This is likely a one-way trip, she told them honestly. We'll be traveling to the heart of NIGMA territory to deploy Dr. Lee's device. If we succeed, we might end this war without further bloodshed. If we fail, we won't fail, said Lieutenant Yoon, the mission's pilot. They've never faced humans before. They don't know what we're capable of when our backs are against the wall. As the stealth ship prepared for launch, the NIGMA fleet above Earth began a new assault pattern. This time they targeted civilian population centers, hoping to force a surrender through terror. But each energy beam dissipated harmlessly against Earth's shields. Each landing force found itself facing weapons that disabled rather than killed. The message was clear. Humans could destroy them utterly, but were choosing not to. It was a concept the conquest-driven NIGMA couldn't comprehend, and that confusion was humanity's greatest advantage. The human stealth ship slipped through space. Like a shadow, its revolutionary engines leaving no energy wake to detect. Commander Kim stood on the bridge, watching stars streak by as they traveled deeper into NIGMA territory than any human had ever ventured. Approaching the Altarian system, Lieutenant Yoon announced from the pilot's chair. Should be our first glimpse of a conquered world. The view screen adjusted as they dropped out of FTL travel. A beautiful blue-green planet appeared, orbiting a yellow star much like Earth's sun, but the similarities ended there. Massive mining operations scarred the planet's surface. NIGMA ships patrolled in tight formation. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons pointed both outward and, tellingly, down at the planet's surface. Life signs? Kim asked quietly. Officer Jin checked her scanner. Billions. The Altarians survived, but according to these readings, they're concentrated in labor camps near the mining operations. Their ship slipped past the NIGMA patrols undetected, settling into orbit behind one of the planet's moons. The plan was simple but dangerous. Make contact with any resistance movement that might exist, gather intelligence, and continue toward the NIGMA homeworld. I'm detecting unusual communication patterns, Jin reported suddenly. They're using the NIGMA's own network, but there's something odd about the encryption. Dr. Lee joined her at the console. It's brilliant, he whispered after studying the patterns. They've created a sublayer in the NIGMA's own neural network. They're hiding in plain sight. Kim made her decision. Send the contact signal we prepared. Let's see if anyone answers. Hours later, in the darkness of night, the human team touched down in a remote mountain region. They wore adaptive camouflage suits that masked not just their appearance but their heat signatures and even the sound of their movements. The landscape around them was beautiful but alien. Crystal formations that seemed to sing softly in the wind, vegetation that glowed with bioluminescence. Movement ahead, Lieutenant Yoon whispered, gesturing toward a rocky outcropping. They tensed, weapons ready but set to non-lethal force. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and slender with iridescent skin that shimmered in the moonlight. An Altarian. You are humans? The alien asked in perfect English, clearly having studied Earth's transmissions. We thought you would be conquered by now. We're still fighting, Kim replied, and we might have a way to free all the worlds under NIGMA control. The Altarian studied them for a long moment, then nodded. I am Delegate Choi of the Resistance Coalition. Follow me, quickly. Choi led them through hidden passages in the crystalline mountains to an underground city. As they traveled deeper, they encountered more alien species. Not just Altarians, but representatives from at least 6 different worlds, all working together in secret. The NIGMA never expected us to cooperate, Choi explained as they entered, a vast chamber filled with technology. Each conquered species is told they are alone, that resistance is futile. It took us years to discover each other, to build this network. Commander Kim marveled at what they had accomplished. Despite brutal oppression, these beings had created a sophisticated resistance movement right under their conquerors' mandibles. Your arrival is the signal we've waited for, Choi continued. Word has spread through the hidden networks about Earth's defiance. You are the first to ever stop a NIGMA invasion force. Kim shared their plan, Dr. Lee's device that could disrupt the NIGMA neural network, potentially freeing all conquered worlds simultaneously. The resistance leaders listened intently, their alien features impossible to read, but their attention absolute. It would mean coordinated uprisings across 17 systems, one leader said, her translucent tentacles rippling with what might have been excitement. We've been preparing for years, another added, his rock-like features shifting slightly. We just needed the right moment. As they strategized through the night, more information about the NIGMA became clear. The Empire's central command was located on a heavily fortified world called NIGM Prime. No resistance member had ever been there and returned. The neural network that connected all NIGMA military personnel originated from a massive complex at the planet's North Pole. We have allies on every conquered world, Choi explained, showing a star map with glowing points representing resistance cells. When your device activates, we'll move simultaneously. The human team spent 3 days with the resistance, loading their ship with critical intelligence about NIGMA defenses and weaknesses. As they prepared to depart, Choi presented Commander Kim with a small crystal. This contains the combined knowledge of 17 civilizations, the Altarian said solemnly. Our histories, our technologies, our arts. Should we fail? Kim understood the weight of what she was being given, a backup of entire cultures that the NIGMA had tried to erase. We won't fail. The human ship slipped away from the Altarian system, continuing its journey toward the heart of the Empire. They visited 3 more conquered worlds, making contact with resistance movements on each. With every stop, their understanding of the NIGMA grew, as did their determination to end the Empire's reign of terror. Meanwhile, back in Earth's solar system, the battle continued. The NIGMA had committed ever more ships to the invasion, pulling forces from throughout their territory. They couldn't comprehend how a single planet was resisting their might, and their tactics grew increasingly desperate. They're taking our bait, Officer Park reported during a secure transmission to Commander Kim's ship. Their forces are concentrated on Earth now. The conquered worlds have minimal garrisons. Everything was proceeding according to plan. As they approached NIGM Prime, the human ship activated its most advanced stealth systems. The planet below was unlike anything they had expected. Not a natural world, but an entirely engineered sphere covered in geometric patterns, pulsing with energy. That's not a planet, Dr. Lee whispered in awe. It's a machine. Scans confirmed his assessment. The entire NIGMA homeworld was artificial, built around a core of incredible power. The neural network originated from this core, spreading outward to connect every NIGMA in existence. No wonder they think as one, Kim murmured. They literally are one entity distributed across millions of bodies. Their ship landed in a remote sector, the team using their adaptive camouflage to infiltrate the massive complex. The closer they got to the central core, the more NIGMA they encountered. Not just soldiers, but scientists, workers, and what appeared to be the ruling class. Their exoskeletons ornate and glittering with embedded technology. At the heart of the complex, they found what they were looking for, the central node of the neural network. Dr. Lee carefully placed his device, a small, unassuming box that contained humanity's most advanced technology. "It's ready," he whispered. "Once activated, we'll have 30 minutes to get back to the ship before it triggers." As they retreated, alarm signals suddenly blared throughout the complex. They had been discovered. NIGMA soldiers poured into the corridors, mandibles clicking furiously as they searched for the intruders. The human team fought their way back toward their ship, using weapons that disabled rather than killed. Even now, facing their mortal enemies, they maintained their principles. As they lifted off from NIGMA Prime, the NIGMA Emperor himself appeared on their communication screen. Unlike the soldiers they had encountered, the Emperor was enormous, its exoskeleton decorated with trophies from countless conquered worlds. "Humans," the Emperor's voice translated, containing something new. "Fear. What have you done to our sacred core?" Commander Kim faced the screen calmly. "We've given you one last chance. Surrender unconditionally and free all subjugated worlds, or the NIGMA Empire will cease to exist." The Emperor's compound eyes narrowed. "The NIGMA have existed for millennia. We have conquered galaxies. You are nothing." "Then you have made your choice," Kim replied simply, cutting the transmission. As their ship accelerated away from NIGMA Prime, the countdown on Dr. Lee's device ticked steadily toward 0. Throughout conquered space, resistance cells prepared for the signal. On Earth, defense forces stood ready for whatever might come next. The final confrontation was about to begin. Commander Kim's ship raced through space, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. Behind them, the NIGMA homeworld had launched its entire defense fleet in pursuit. Ahead lay the rendezvous point where, if all had gone according to plan, resistance forces would be waiting to escort them to safety. 5 minutes until device activation, Dr. Lee announced, monitoring the countdown on his tablet. His hands were steady, but beads of sweat trickled down his temples. The ship shuddered as a glancing hit from a NIGMA cruiser struck their shields. "They're gaining on us," Lieutenant Yoon called out, hands dancing across the flight controls. "I'm not sure we'll make the rendezvous in time." Commander Kim moved to the communication station. "Broadcast on all resistance frequencies. Tell them to start their uprising now, regardless of whether we make it or not." The ship rocked again as another blast hit closer. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. 1 minute to activation," Dr. Lee said quietly. Everyone fell silent, each contemplating what they had set in motion. The device wasn't a weapon of destruction as everyone had assumed. Dr. Lee had created something far more elegant, a dimensional displacement field calibrated specifically to NIGMA biological signatures. "I need to tell you something," Dr. Lee said, looking up at his crewmates. "The device won't kill the NIGMA. I couldn't do that, not even to them." Kim nodded. She had suspected as much. "What will it do?" "It will transport every NIGMA in existence to a habitable planet I discovered in an isolated system," Lee explained. "They'll have air, water, resources, everything they need to survive, but they'll be cut off from their technology, their empire. They'll have to learn to live as a normal species again." Through the view screen, they watched as the pursuing NIGMA fleet suddenly slowed, ships drifting out of formation as confusion spread through their neural network. "It's starting," Officer Jin whispered. Across 17 star systems, the same scene was unfolding. NIGMA soldiers mid-stride suddenly vanished. NIGMA commanders disappeared from their bridges. NIGMA scientists, workers, rulers, all gone in an instant, transported across space to a new home they hadn't chosen but didn't deserve to die for. Dr. Lee's tablet chimed. "Displacement complete." The pursuing ships hung dead in space, their crews gone. The empire that had conquered and terrorized countless worlds for millennia had vanished in a single moment. News spread quickly through resistance channels. On every conquered world, former slaves emerged from their camps to find their oppressors gone. Ships arrived from Earth, bringing supplies, medical aid, and the technological knowledge to help these civilizations rebuild. 3 days after the displacement, representatives from all 17 liberated worlds gathered on the Altarian homeworld. The Great Hall, once a NIGMA command center, now hosted the most diverse assembly of species ever gathered in that part of the galaxy. Commander Kim stood before them, still wearing her EDC uniform, but now with a new insignia, a simple blue circle, representing Earth. "The NIGMA Empire has fallen," she began, her voice carrying across the silent hall. "Not through genocide, but through our shared determination to be free. Today, we propose the formation of a new alliance, the Galactic Cooperative. Not an empire, not a conquest, but a true partnership of equals." Delegate Choi stepped forward. "The Altarians stand with Earth. Your species could have destroyed the NIGMA. Instead, you chose mercy, even for those who showed none. This is a new kind of strength we wish to learn." One by one, representatives from each world pledged themselves to this new alliance. Species that had been enemies under NIGMA rule now found common ground in their shared liberation. 5 years passed. The Galactic Cooperative flourished, bringing together the unique strengths and technologies of 18 different civilizations. Trade routes established, cultural exchanges organized, and a combined scientific effort unlocked new discoveries that benefited all. Captain Yoon, promoted after the mission to NIGM Prime, stood on the bridge of Earth's newest vessel, a diplomatic ship designed for first contact with undiscovered civilizations. Today's mission was different, however. Today they approached the isolated planet where the NIGMA had been relocated. "Life signs are strong," Officer Jin reported. "They've established settlements. Primitive by their former standards, but they're surviving." "Any sign of advanced technology?" Yoon asked. "None. Without their central neural network, they've had to learn to think as individuals again. It's been challenging for them." The ship settled into orbit, and Yoon prepared to lead the first diplomatic mission to the exiled NIGMA. With a buoy, him was Dr. Lee, who had insisted on coming despite the risks. "They might hate us," Yoon said as they boarded the shuttle. "They lost everything." Lee shook his head. "They lost an empire, but they gained the chance to become something better." The shuttle landed in a clearing near the largest NIGMA settlement. As the doors opened, they found themselves surrounded by NIGMA individuals, different from those they remembered. These NIGMA wore simple clothing rather than military armor. Their exoskeletons, once polished to a gleaming shine, now bore the honest marks of physical labor. A NIGMA stepped forward, larger than the others. The team recognized the distinctive markings. This had been the Emperor. "Humans," the former Emperor said, mandibles clicking softly. "We wondered when you would come." "We bring an offer," Dr. Lee said, stepping forward with a small box in his hands. "Not a weapon, but a gift. A path to rejoin galactic society, not as conquerors, but as equals." The former Emperor's compound eyes studied them carefully. "Why would you offer this? We tried to enslave your world." "Because that's the difference between us," Commander Kim replied. "You conquered, we connect. You demanded submission, we offer cooperation." For a long moment, the NIGMA was silent. Then slowly it extended a limb to accept the offered box, a symbolic gesture that would begin a new chapter for their species. Back on Earth, children now learned about the NIGMA War in history classes. In the central plaza of the United Earth, government headquarters stood a simple monument, not a celebration of military victory, but a reminder of the choice humanity had made when faced with an enemy that would have shown no mercy. The inscription read, "We faced extinction and chose compassion. In our darkest hour, we found our brightest virtue." Ambassador Kang, addressing a group of new member species joining the cooperative, often told the story of humanity's confrontation with the NIGMA. "People sometimes ask why humans lead many of our peacekeeping initiatives," he would explain. It's not because we're the strongest or most advanced species. It's because we have something equally powerful, an unbreakable will to remain free and to ensure that freedom for others. Throughout the galaxy, a new saying spread among spacefaring civilizations, repeated as both warning and wisdom. Beware the species that warns you twice. The NIGMA had learned this lesson at great cost, and somewhere deep in unexplored space, other potential conquerors heard whispers of the Empire that had vanished after threatening a small blue planet called Earth.